My name is Javier, and what I'm about to tell you, I'm not sure if it's my truth or a nightmare that refuses to let me go. A month ago, I decided to explore a cave in the depths of the Sierra Negra, a place where the villagers don't even dare speak its name. They said the silence there was alive, that it whispered. I didn't believe them until I descended into the abyss. I took with me ropes, a flashlight, and a recorder to document my adventure. The cave's entrance was hidden behind a cliff, a narrow fissure that seemed to swallow the daylight. The air was cold, carrying a scent of damp earth and something metallic that turned my stomach, as if the cave were breathing. As I descended, the walls closed in around me, covered in marks that looked like desperate claw scratches. The sound of my footsteps echoed like a slow heartbeat, and for a moment I swore I heard someone, or something, repeating the echo behind me. A few meters down, I noticed something strange. The silence wasn't complete. There was a murmur, a whisper so faint it seemed to come from the rock itself. At first I thought it was the wind, but there were no drafts. I kept descending, and the whisper grew clearer. Names, fragments of phrases in a language I didn't recognize. Words that slithered like snakes into my mind. My flashlight trembled in my hand, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. But my curiosity dragged me deeper, as if something were calling me. At 15 meters, the cave opened into a vast chamber with stalactites hanging like sharp teeth that dripped a viscous liquid. The floor was covered in gray dust that swirled at my steps, leaving footprints that vanished behind me, as if the cave erased them. In the center, I saw a black pit, so deep that my flashlight's beam couldn't reach its bottom. The whisper turned into a chorus, voices intertwining, repeating my name. Javier, Javier, with a tone that mixed mockery and pleading. I approached the edge, hypnotized by the terror. Suddenly, a frigid gust erupted from the pit, bringing a stench of rotting flesh, and the voices screamed in unison, a shriek that made the walls vibrate. My recorder captured that sound, a scream that didn't come from my throat. I stumbled back, but something grabbed my ankle, a bony hand, pale as death, rising from the dust. I tore it off with a yell and ran, but the voices followed, whispering promises of pain, of memories that weren't mine, of sins I never committed. I spent days lost in those galleries, or at least that's what I think. Time distorted, stretching like rubber. I found narrow passageways where the ceiling brushed my head, and on the walls I saw inscriptions, drawings of human figures devoured by shadows with empty eyes, their mouths open in eternal silence. My flashlight began to fail, flickering as if something drained it, and the voices grew more insistent, telling me secrets I didn't want to know. The names of the dead, the faces of those who had ventured down before me and never returned. I felt my mind cracking, as if something were trying to enter me, whispering that I should surrender. In a moment of clarity, I found an old sack in a crevice, containing a journal inside. The pages were yellowed, written in a shaky hand that faded into ink smears. The author, a spelunker named Raul, described how the voices had driven him mad, how he had seen faces in the shadows begging for help before dragging him into the pit. His final entry read, "The voices know my name, and now they know yours." I closed the journal, but the words burned into my mind, and the voices repeated them, laughing. After what felt like weeks, I found a crack leading upward, a faint ray of light promising escape. The voices were deafening now, and the shadows on the walls came alive, reaching for me with spectral fingers that left cold marks on my skin. In my panic, I dropped the recorder, but I kept climbing, my nails tearing against the rock. The voices promised they would find me, that the abyss would never release me. When I emerged, the daylight blinded me, and silence returned. Or so I thought at first. I returned to the surface, but I'm not safe. The wound on my ankle oozes a gray liquid that smells of decay, and the voices haven't stopped. I hear them in my sleep, in the wind, in the rustling of leaves. Sometimes I see faces in reflections, gaunt faces that beg me to return, to set them free. The recorder, which I retrieved days later soaked in that gray dust, plays back not only my screams but also laughter I don't remember making, and a whisper that says, "We will come for you." I've tried to burn the cave's map, but it always reappears in my backpack, as if calling me back. The villagers avoid me now, claiming I talk in my sleep, that my eyes reflect a light that shouldn't be there. I don't know if I escaped or if the abyss marked me forever, a bridge between its world and mine. If anyone finds this account, don't go down to the Sierra Negra. The voices are waiting, and if you listen too long, they will drag you into the abyss, as they dragged me.
Subscribe to Horror Stories.